Welcome to another episode of the Final Whistle podcast, where the real talk starts after the final whistle blows. I'm your host, Adini, and joined by my co-host.
Adekule, here we are.
And today we're going global with the Club World Cup. This is 2025, the expanded format of the Club World Cup. No longer how many teams, 5, 6 teams that used to participate, and then the European teams would join at the semi-final stage. Now there is a new host country, big clubs, bigger expectations, and a lot of mixed opinions since the kickoff and since the game started. And in this episode, we're going to break it all down: the matches, the weather, the fans, and some of the flops and our predictions for the final showdown. To start, Adekunle, I'm going to look at the expanded format.
Yeah.
See what needed and why did FIFA, how many teams did FIFA decide to go with now? And will it make it more global? Like, what's even the deal with the expanded structure? What's going on?
I think we need to see this from two different angles, right? And that's exactly how I've decided to see it as a football fan. So the number one, is it needed? A lot of us criticized, I included, criticized these tournaments before it started to say it's going to stress player more, it's going to demand more of players and the likes and the likes. And we've also started seeing comments that we'll probably look at shortly from different coaches and players about the tournament. But here's the reality. Right. Two angles. The first one is players earn a lot of money right now. So if you go into
It's the money talk.
if you go into the financial books of most football clubs right now, the bulk of their expenses are associated to players' wages, players' contracts, and all of that and all of that. And yes, so it's a money game now. It's commercial world. They need to drive revenue. And what UEFA has done. It's not just FIFA. UEFA did the same thing by, as a response to the Super League and expanded, brought the league phase of the UEFA Champions League, which has come up with additional 2, 3, or 4 more games. You understand? So that's more money for the clubs as well. FIFA is doing the same thing for them to say, all of you, all the big boys, come into a platform. Let me bring all you together. Come test yourself in a football context. But we all know again, there's a money side of it.
In the end, it's all about the money. That's
Saudi Arabia
don't care about players' welfare or these players have played rigorous matches throughout the season. I was even looking at Brazilian club schedule, and some of them had already played 77 games before they even came to the Club World Cup. And isn't that going to tell on all these players if we're just chasing the money and chasing the money?
That's why I said we need to look at it from two angles. So what we're still looking at is the first angle. Let's not forget that. And you see, it's difficult. It's difficult to not talk about money when we have players that earn as much as 13 million this, 20 million that. They need to be paid their salaries. How does it feel at the end of the season or at the end of a month, at the end of the week, a club looks to a player and say, you've played so well, but we can't pay you.
But in essence though, so that means clubs have already decided that, okay, in the end, since all these players can ask us for a lot of money, we're going to play as much games as we want, put ourselves in competitions. Even if FIFA says, let's do this, then we are going to jump and do it. And I think one of the biggest issue for me in the beginning, like you said, was, players were coming out of the season and then all of them are going to go straight to Club World Cup. But if we look at it, FIFA itself, they didn't hide the fact that it's money they are chasing because they are going for cities like LA, Miami, New York to go and play games. They know what they are doing too, trying to maximize all these things and make the money wherever they want to make. But I still want to go back to something. Is this going to make Club World Cup better, or is it just the financial gain in the end? That's the bigger picture for everybody.
Anything that has money is already better. If you put money,
once money is involved, that means
anything that has money in it. So if you win the Club World Cup right now, you're earning about or over 100 million euros. So what are we talking about?
That some people need to be able to buy players.
So what are we talking about? If you win the Champions League that you play for you start playing Champions League right from I think November or October, you start the league phase. You're going to end it in May. You're going to travel around Europe Do you understand? And you're going to earn, if you win, you're going to earn about 160 or 170. This is a tournament that is less than 2 months. You're going to play at most, if you're going to win this tournament, at most you're going to play 6 or 7 games, right?
But
Of
you
those, hold on, of those 6 or 7 games, you're only going to play about 3 intensive games.
no forget it, but you're limiting it to what's going to happen on the field of play. And
Okay.
which is taking like to the next section of it of my conversation about Club World Cup. Yes, they are going to play maybe a rigorous game from maybe the semifinals and or the quarterfinals or wherever. But so far, this tournament has shown that rigorous game can happen in the group stage because we've seen some upset in the group stage. We've seen some clubs that they're supposed to win games, like the likes of
Losing.
Porto's, the likes of Bayern Munich losing to Benfica, and Chelsea losing to a Brazilian club, and also Juventus losing embarrassingly left and right. So, but now that now goes to the question. Remember, the country hosting this tournament is the United States, which is bigger than
Right.
the whole of Europe itself, landmass wise. To travel from New York to LA alone is like traveling from New York to Heathrow Airport. I think the only difference is about 30 minutes flight time when you're going to Heathrow versus when you're going to LA. So when I was playing on the field, you have to fly. Once you're done if you're playing in LA today, let's say you have to play in ATL tomorrow, then that means you're going from the West Coast to the East Coast. You can't get on the train. The US train is nothing to write home about. You have to always fly. That also puts Kinney on.
I understand. We've had this conversation outside social media. I mean, one-on-one before. And you know my stand when it comes to play. I feel like players need rest. I feel like for us to get the highest performance that we can think of an individual player now. I mean, of an individual player, that player needs rest. But you see, the future of football has gone beyond an individual player in the game of football. The
That's true.
football is looking at the football as a team. And either we like it or not, that's the evolution that is happening. Rodri won the Ballon d'Or. Rodri didn't play any of the competitive game for Manchester City
But
last year.
now Rodri is injured again.
See, that is the reality that teams are going to learn to embrace.
But
Why?
Rodri is injured again now.
That's what
Just
I'm
because
saying. Is
of
the Manchester City? That's all. If I'm going to fault it, is one of the things. Maybe Rodri's injury has not been managed well, or maybe it's bound to happen. Why am I saying that? Manchester City came with a large squad. Manchester City could have played this FIFA Club World Cup without playing Rodri if they wanted to. So that's not to blame. That's not a blame FIFA is going to take, because Nico Gonzalez was on the bench. Nico Gonzalez played only about 62 minutes in this tournament. So if a Rodri that is coming back from World Cup is being forced out of the tournaments because of injury, that's no fault of FIFA. So if we
well,
come back to your question, let's not make it Manchester City. If we come back to your question, your point is the reality. The way money is a new reality in football. Now, see, I think a lot of us, because we are used to watching Premier League, La Liga, the Bundesliga, and Serie A, we forget that there are leagues in Europe. I'm not going to say world. Now, I'm saying in Europe. There are leagues in Europe that also suffer from weather, atmosphere, and
they
different
do.
conditions.
But
There are
the weather
games
is
that
still
get
not like it's
cancelled.
still not going to have them cancel games like they've been doing this Club World Cup, postponing games, stopping game in between, and then they come back to that alone puts a lot of effect and bad
or
effect on
that
players too.
alone, or that alone bring. Let's not forget the objective of tournaments as football fans.
What's the objective of this tournament if it's not to make
So,
money?
so the objective of World Cup when it started is to also take it around the different countries in the world, the different
So
nations in the world.
does it look
Is
like
to
FIFA is
bring
going to take
is to
Club World
bring
Cup outside of
fairness and to give
spectate?
opportunity to the lower team and some nation as well to show themselves. Do you understand? So
Mm.
we have Club World Cup coming on a club level to bring a tournament like that. It's coming to US. If you are saying things like this in US, I think what people should be saying is, for people that are finding this, I don't think people in Russia, people in Ukraine would really find whether a game being postponed strange. They won't.
But that's why Russia is not playing. But let's leave politics
See,
and money talks for people that are organizing and talk about the real football, the real
yeah,
aspect of this Club World Cup. And so far, apart from money issue, this tournament has been awesome. We've seen upset left and right. We've seen
yeah.
players that are not supposed to be topping the scoring charts, like Leonardo and Di Maria in his old age, topping the scoring chart at the stage that the tournament is right now. And we've seen gems like Estevio that is going to Chelsea after this tournament. And also, I think the biggest star so far for me, that has broken through. Nobody even thought about this guy. Is that Real Madrid boy, the striker Gonzalo Garcia, stepping up and scoring goals for Madrid. I think 3 goals so far. And if we're talking about gameplay, I think the Club World Cup has actually exceeded my expectations in that aspect. If we're not focusing about the money, the South American Cup,
Exactly what I was saying. We criticized the Club World Cup, but now we are here. And what are we seeing? I'm not sure. See, a lot of people have not followed the Club World Cup. I understand
true,
because it's being played in America right now,
the
where
time zone is not
the time zone.
good.
I couldn't get to watch Chelsea game because it was 2 a.m. The last 2 a.m. game I watched was Manchester City, and I
Oh,
felt
the one you guys
disappointed because
lost.
because the team lost. So I'm not sure I'm going to be watching any 2 a.m. games. But it's just because of the time frame, not because of the quality of the games. What
Yeah.
has the game shown us? Like you said, right now, the nationals that have scored the most in this tournament are Brazilians. Brazilians have scored quite a number of games in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
The Brazilian league as a whole, they've come here to show us that they can compete. 4 of them got into round 16.
Yes, yeah.
That's
They
awesome.
represented South America well
Yeah,
compared
that's
to
awesome.
the
Quite a number of them came unbeaten into that same round 16. Do you understand?
yes.
So, yeah, we saw Botafogo beating PSG 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
We saw even El Ali from Saudi Arabia sending Manchester City out of
Alila.
this tournament. Al Hilal
Alila.
sending Manchester City from this tournament.
And that
What have
was a
these teams
good game.
shown us?
That was actually a good game.
Inter Miami beating Porto is showing us that yes, we need a tournament, truthfully, that brings the European champions and all the champions from the world together,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see where we are. To be honest, yes,
Yeah.
there's a level of respect that other countries are getting from this
I
tournament.
think so far the only European team that has exceeded expectations for me will be Chelsea. And I want to say, oh, maybe because their group was easier, or their path to where they are now is easier because they've actually beaten good teams. Like the game they played yesterday, that was actually a lovely game. Yeah, it was own goal that finally carried them to the semi-final. But Chelsea was able to, compared to all the other teams that have really, like City losing to Al Hilal, like that was actually a surprise. PSG losing to Botafogo, that was a surprise. And I had to go check the lineup again to make sure that, wait, is it the real PSG that is playing or maybe another team and everything?
Do you
And
know?
from
Do
Fluminense
you know
itself,
one
they
thing?
don't really show up.
Do you know one thing? Naye, if we look at the value, so if we look at financial value
Mm-hmm.
of the squads that are in the FIFA World Club Cup right now, the top 11, or let me say top 10, are all European clubs.
Yes, they are.
Coming from Real Madrid, that is worth about maybe 1.3 billion, to Manchester City, to PSG and the like. 10 of them, top 10, are all European clubs. The first club you will find that is not an European club is a Brazilian club, Palmeiras. And I
Yeah,
think they are
because
maybe
Brazilian
11 or
teams are really
something.
doing well for themselves.
How much are they worth? Maybe about 200 and something million euros.
Yeah,
What am I
even way
saying?
more than the MLS teams that didn't show up.
So
The
the
hosts that didn't even
expectation
show up.
that you have set, that a lot of us have set, are based on this value and based on what we watch. But you see what these Brazilian clubs, even Helila, I'm very, very impressed. But again, I don't watch them, but we know their squad value as well. They have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of players in there. You
Yeah,
understand?
they have
They have quality
Yolando, they
players.
have
They are
Benever,
full
they
of
have good players. Yeah.
previous European players that are in their
And
prime.
their goalkeeper is one of the best in the world right now.
Inter Miami also getting to the round 16 in a group where we have Porto. Do you understand?
That one, we saw what finally
A lot
happened
of
to them.
that. It shows
Yeah,
that
but
it's a good game. I think
yeah,
this is a game
it
that
has
is
been a good
played at
tournament.
the highest level.
It has been a good tournament so far. But final thoughts on Club World Cup. Now that we are in the quarterfinals, we're almost done with the quarterfinals and in the semifinals. Who do you think is going to win it all, and why?
My prediction, my bet, my stake is on PSG, and I'll give you a reason. The reason why I'm picking or I'm going with PSG is that in this tournament again, they are still one of those that are playing as a team. We saw it in the Champions League. They are still
Mm-hmm.
doing it. They're playing as a team. I think right now, defensive record, they are one of the teams that have the highest clean sheets right now.
Yes.
They are still they still know how to press high. They do. And again, one thing they did I respected. If you watch the first half of PSG against Inter Miami, they started the game like they were playing a champion. They didn't underestimate Inter Miami for any reason. Saying I for one, no teams that would not have approached Inter Miami the way PSG did. PSG, right from the first minute, they were playing Inter Miami like they were playing Real Madrid. So for that reason, I think their defensive record, playing as a team, going into the business, focusing on the business, I bet stay on PSG.
So you think PSG will get to the final?
I think PSG will win it.
You're thinking PSG will even win it. Not that they will get to the final. They are going
Yeah, I
to
think.
win it. Well, for me, I'll go with Chelsea. I've picked Chelsea from the beginning of the tournament. And that now takes me to the defending record that you're saying. Chelsea is actually leading that since before they left the group stage. They've had the most forced turnovers of any team. They've had the most ball recovery time of any team. And when it comes to defensive pressures, Chelsea players have done that. They've played like a team and way better than expectations. Even though I picked them from the beginning to win, they've actually surprised me as well because every time Chelsea goes to a tournament like this, it's like they know how to navigate, no matter who the manager is, no matter who the players are. I think for me, they have a belief in that club that has been ingrained based on all the successes they've had in the past. On this tournament, we're treating every game like a final. Yes, they have they lost in the group stage to a Brazilian club, but after that, they've won it all. Now they are facing Fluminense in the semi-final, and I think they will beat Fluminense.
Let's see. No hard feeling. We don't have our teams there, so we'll watch and see.
Yeah, but I'm still picking Chelsea. Especially anything that has to do with PSG or Madrid, I will still
Okay,
pick
then,
PSG.
then let's watch a final PSG Chelsea final. Let's see. Hopefully,
PSG Chelsea final is going to be awesome
it's
because
possible.
it's not going to be
because
like PSG Inter.
because
Chelsea is really going to
they are
show
coming
off.
from different route. They are on different route of the
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So
So we
PSG
can
Chelsea
have it.
final, and my
Let's see.
money is on Chelsea to win it all. That's what I think, and I think another reason why I'll pick them is because of their cohesive team and the way they've been playing. PSG, yeah, they've been playing awesome, but at some point,
Yeah, so we have an Arsenal fan picking the biggest team in London as the possible winner
for
of
me, it's not even
Club World
about
Cup.
where Chelsea is located or
No, I'm helping you. I'm helping
well,
you
we are talking
present the pan. I'm
about
helping
raw
you
facts.
presenting the pan side of your prediction. Because
Raw facts.
When
It's
Chelsea
always
walks
Chelsea.
back to London with that Club World Cup, you better be ready for it.
I don't care. See, I think when it comes to being a football fan, and I picked the game over the club. For me, I've been supporting Arsenal since 1996.
I know,
And
right?
it has come to an extent where I look at game overall now. I'm not emotional about, if Chelsea is winning it or if Spurs is winning it. I just want a team that actually deserves to win. If Chelsea wins, and I hope they do, and they bring the trophy back to London, and you know me, I've celebrated
That's your
a lot of
standpoint.
trophies.
And my own standpoint is either you care or you don't care. The fact remains that your club does not have an European trophy.
I don't care.
Does not have a World Cup trophy. And Chelsea is going to present everything and bring it out to London.
We are going to end this episode on that junction because you've turned it to Arsenal versus Chelsea thing. And this episode was not about Arsenal. It's Club World Cup. Don't let us forget.
We are closing it on the prediction.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the Club World Cup, the games, the climate, and the bigger question, if it's about money or if it's about football. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast, The Final Whistle, wherever you're listening. Weekly, we are going to be dropping banger episode for you guys to follow, to love. And until next time, when the final whistle blows, that's when the real talks begins.
Cheers.